Hello and welcome back once again. We're going to try, hopefully successfully, to get our Abaddon Black to work this time. We're continuing with our Space Wolf. If you watched last time, you'll know that our Abaddon Black was actually like drying out. I think this one is too, unfortunately. But I want to try to get this freehanding done. And if you've seen kind of the box art for Space Wolves, they all kind of have like this little two triangle design thing going on, which I like a lot. It looks cool, and we're freehanding it, so of course that's going to butcher a lot of it. But I want to kind of replicate that. I don't know if they make transfers just for this. I don't think so. It's been a hot minute since I've actually bought a Space Wolf box. I think the last one I got was like a Combat Patrol, and I didn't paint them Space Wolf colors, so I kind of threw out the transfers. Um, I will say I didn't throw them out, I just misplaced them somewhere. I have like a box full of transfers, and I kind of lost them when I moved last. But I don't think they had this little decal on there, so we're just gonna freehand it, and it's not quite what I'm looking for. I can already tell, but it's close enough. I can appreciate it regardless, and we'll go over it a few more times here as it kind of dries. We're also going to be doing a base today. We already kind of have like this weird sand base because at one point I was going to paint them like Dark Angels and blah blah blah. I've explained this pretty much every time I've done one of these Space Marine videos, but it's not important. We are going to be fixing it though, and I have a nice technical paint to do that with, so I'm very excited to knock that out. Real quick, we are also going to do another coat on this gun real quick because we didn't quite get too much of a solid base coat on here the first time around. And of course, if you're properly thinning your paints, that's just going to be the case. Two thin layers is better than one thick one, and that is kind of the motto I live by. And we flip it over. You can really tell on the back there that it needs a little bit more, but nothing too crazy. We will knock it out very shortly here. I'm really upset. I have another Abaddon Black coming in the mail. I ordered the Red Gabo, the special like Christmas model that they just released. It's out for pre-order, but it doesn't come until the 15th, so I kind of have to go without Abaddon Black until then. And both of my paints are like drying up or are dried out, so we'll be struggling there for a little bit. I'll just kind of paint stuff that doesn't require it. But there we are, and we also need to slap some more blue on that kind of inside of the wrist there. We'll get that though, don't worry. We'll even slap a little bit on top here just because it needs just a little bit more. Nothing too crazy though. And we'll even get just a little bit more black on, and we'll do another layer on our little shoulder pad there. Hopefully not get any where we don't want it. It's very precise work freehanding, and I'm not good at precise work. Which is ironic considering I'm painting tiny little figures. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And this is looking better already. It's not perfect. I kind of wanted to make them a little bit taller and like have more of a gap in the middle, but honestly, I'm kind of happy with it. It's not terrible, so I'll roll with it. And we'll probably need one more layer of this. Maybe we'll just throw a layer of Nuln Oil on and call it done. But we are going to move on to our next paint, and this is going to be our Balthazar Gold. As I kind of clean this up just a little bit. This is bothering me just a little. And now it's perfect. So, yes, Balthazar Gold, which is not gold at all. Of course, I always have to complain about it. But it is a fantastic color regardless. Of course, we want to make sure it is nice and thin because metallic paints are naturally very thick. They will clump up on you before you even realize what's happening, so be very careful. It's very easy to apply too much. Regardless, we are going to do the kind of muzzle of our bolter here. And typically I like to do this more kind of with lead belcher, but I feel like it contrasts a little bit better with the gray. If we do this, it looks a little bit more like the Horus Heresy era Space Wolves, which I like more personally. Nothing against current colors, but Horus Heresy was peak. And if I could hold this without shaking too much, we'll even try to get that little insignia here. Kind of use the tip slash edge of our brush if we can, just to get all that raised up area without being too messy. And if nothing else, we will come back with a little bit more of that black and clean things up. Overall though, not too bad. We didn't totally butcher it. It's a little bit of mess, but we can fix that pretty easily. And let's do these kind of bolter shells as well. And then I think we'll also do kind of that top, I don't know what you want to call it. It's kind of like part of the magazine almost. It's like a drum, but we'll do that as well, just to kind of give some decent detail on our bolter there. As cool as all black bolters would be, I do like to kind of change it up a little bit. And we'll get a little bit more on our palette because I never use enough paint. I always think I have enough, and then it ends up drying on me. So, something that I'm constantly battling with. I digress, and we will even do the inside as well. And I don't know if we can reach it. It's going to be an awkward angle, but we'll come in from the bottom here. I'll try to get these bolter shells as well. Not like you can really see it from any angle, unless you like really look for it, but it makes me feel complete, so we will do it. And of course, get the front. At some point, I want to get a little drill, and we will drill the barrels out, but right now it's not something I'm worried about, so please don't yell at me about it. I know it's a thing that I need to do. I'm just lazy. And yeah, it's just not something that's in the cards for me right now. I'm more worried about more paints and models than I am tools. And we will try to get this Imperialis as neatly as we can. Theoretically, I want to use a smaller brush for this, but honestly, I just happen to have this one, and it seems to be working so far, so we're going to keep with it. Of course, it helps. You only see about the top half of this thing, so we can kind of butcher the bottom half, and no one will ever know, except for me. It will keep me awake at night, and I will cry about it, but no one else can see it, so it's my problem to deal with alone. And let's turn it around a little bit. Trying not to make you guys motion sick with all of this awkward angle here, but it is a problem, unfortunately, we do have to have, because I don't do sub-assemblies, because I'm garbage. No, sub-assemblies are fun, and they do take longer, but you can kind of get more of the detail work done easily. But honestly, I kind of prefer just to paint them fully. It just feels better to me. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but there you are. And actually, while we're at it, I want to do a quick layer on those kind of exhausts on the back as well, just because they look a little bit unfinished. The gray is kind of poking through from underneath, and I don't like that. I like having solid layers. And we'll even do these undersides here, and then I think we will do our new base. I do need to kind of get another brush out. As much as I like this one, it's not really big enough for what I want to do. So I tell you what, we'll try this one. I have one that's slightly bigger. It's still probably not going to be enough, but I actually kind of want to be a little bit neat about this. So we're going to try it. And actually, this is kind of a weird paint pot. It's very hard to kind of read. But it is, if I don't throw it at myself, Valhalla Blizzard, if you guys are trying to order it for yourself. And it's been kind of a while since I used this, but it looks almost like paste. It's a really weird consistency, but it is kind of fun to use. And we're just going to go ahead and very liberally apply it to our model here. We might have to do a couple layers to kind of get all of that. Good lord. If he wants to stay open for me, that would be great. I'm really struggling with this. I'll tell you what, I'm just kind of going to glob it on. And we'll hope for the best there. There we go. Real thick and fluffy. And we'll do another layer of this maybe just to kind of really cover up all that sand. If nothing else, we'll dump a layer of non oil on it as well, just to really darken things out. I don't know whether it's because I've kind of had it in my collection for a while, or whether it's just naturally like this. I can't even remember the last time I used this technical paint, but it's very, very goopy in regards to something compared to like the mud technical paint. I forget the name of it. I think it's like Sterling mud. It's very nice. I really like Sterling. It is a primo technical, but oh well. we're dealing with what we have now. And while we kind of let that layer dry a little bit, we're even going to try to do the eyes. As always, traditionally, it either is a make or break point when we do the eyes. Sometimes I nail them on the first try. More often than not, I don't. We're doing Mephiston red for this because that's my classic color I like. But with Space Wolves, I will say you can go with green as well. Green's a really solid color for them. Honestly, I could swing it either way. But let's give it a whirl. And I'll even try to kind of get a good angle for you guys as we slap this on there. So far, so good. We haven't ruined it yet. And I even want to come back through. Here's where we're going to butcher it as I try to get it from the other side. Maybe. Shaky hands. There we go. That's not too bad, right? It's relatively within the lines. And of course, get a little bit more on our brush here. And not too much. We want to make sure we definitely wipe it off. And we're going to try the exact same thing on the other side. It is a little bit of a weirder angle. That bolter is kind of blocking our way here. But give it a whirl. It's not terrible. It's a little wet, so it's kind of bulging out a little bit. But I think once it dries, it's going to look pretty solid. Yeah, it's not bad. I've definitely done worse. I'm proud of that. That's one for the picture books right there. Successful first try. I think we did pretty well with our salamanders too, which was a welcome change of pace. I think the kind of couple models that we tried before that we kind of botched a little bit. But trying this again, we're going to go back to our technical paint. I think it's going to dry it a little bit, so we're going to slap some more on there. And it is kind of covering the yellow a little. I'm kind of regretting it now. I feel like I should have done another color underneath, or another layer underneath of something else. But it's alright. We've kind of made our bed, and I will lie in it. I'll take that L. I just want to cover it enough that it's not too noticeable. Everything else, maybe it's like melting snow. it's I don't know. We'll just give some like lore behind it to make it more believable. But while we let that layer dry as well, we're even going to do a little bit of a wash with our classic non oil. Normally I like Agrax. Agrax is a great shade, but I feel like it's a little bit too much for something like this. I just want to go with something pretty simple, and I want to do all of our recesses if we can. So we're going to go in, and we're not even going to wipe it off. We're just going to raw dog it. all of those recesses. We're going to put as much as we can without really overflowing just into all those little nooks and crannies. And the nice thing about this is you really don't have to be too neat about it. The problem with Agrax, and I love it, but it's like more brown than anything. So if you kind of mess up a little bit, like you're just gonna have a streak of brown. With non-oil, it's almost kind of not as potent, I guess. It definitely seems kind of watered down in comparison. So if you mess up, it just kind of looks like a little bit of a dark kind of splotchy area, which is preferable. It makes it much easier to kind of mess things up. I'll tell you what, I was too lazy to properly fill these in with black, so we'll just really darken it with non-oil. We'll do a couple layers of it. Normally I'm good about it, but this time I just kind of forgot, so we'll fix it on the fly here. And we'll follow that all the way around, just everywhere that kind of gap in the armor plating is. And we'll let that dry a little bit. I also want to get kind of all these metal bits on our bolter, just kind of make them a little bit shiny, a little bit grungier. Nothing too crazy, but it does always look good with a layer of non-oil over it. And while we're here, not that it looks terrible, but I do want to do a little bit on our shoulders as well. I feel like that'll kind of help sell the effect a little. Just kind of muddy it a bit so you can't tell that it's painted on, as opposed to like a transfer maybe. Because transfers are always like I've never used them, but I've seen people use them, and they always kind of come out like shiny almost, just from like the I forget what it's called, but like the stuff that you use to set them in place. So I feel like that kind of gives it the same effect if we just do that. In my mind, at least. You can argue with me. That's fine. Tell me how bad I am because I'm doing weird techniques. But I'm just painting kind of the way I normally would, and telling you why, I guess. I'm not really going on my way to do like the best techniques because that's not familiar to me. Of course, it's all subjective. I just like to do things the way that I'm used to. And of course, we do like to change things up a little bit, so I do like to try new stuff every now and then. But right now, I'm limiting that to the freehanding. That's the only new thing that we're doing this time around. And we are going to wash off our non-oil here. And we're going to try another layer of this Valhalla Blizzard. Hopefully, it'll look even better. It really does kind of look like slush, though. Like when winter's kind of coming to an end, and you just have like the streets are just covered in like the half melted snow, and it sucks, and everyone hates kind of walking through it. That's 100% like the vibe that I'm getting from this, and I kind of want to lean into it now that I've kind of seen it, because it does bring back like. I don't know why. I don't really see it much as an adult, but like, man, as a kid, like walking home from like the bus stop and everything, it's just slush everywhere, like especially at the end of winter. So that's kind of like giving me a throwback to those times. So I kind of want to keep it. It's kind of fun, and it's a little bit enjoyable for me. So I definitely might do one more layer once this dries, but I'm going to lean into it. Forget the fact that there's sand underneath. It honestly doesn't bother me too much. And I think while we're doing that, I also wanted to clean up a little bit of our gray. There's just a couple of little spots that didn't quite give the coverage that it needed. So I want to fix that real quick. And then hopefully by the time we're done with that, we can finish things up. Of course, just a little tiny bit on our palette, nothing too crazy. Just cleanup duty, that's all we're doing now. And get this arm, I think the other arm as well, or the hand or something needed it. Nothing too wild. And I think we'll even fix our bolter just a tiny bit with some black, because the gold, or the, I guess it's technically Balthazar gold, kind of got out of hand. And we're going to be going a little bit kind of over schedule today. That's fine. If I did another video, it would just be like a 5-minute thing. So I really don't want to waste your time and do that. I debated even just drawing out the last episode, but then I realized there's kind of too much I still had to do. So I figured I would just do a third part. But rest assured, I won't make you wait for a fourth one. We are going to finish it all up right now. And we are, of course, going to do tons of weird angles while we do it. Oh, I'm shaking so bad now. I'm holding it at a weird way. It's my bad. That was entirely my fault. I do miss my paint handle. I still have it. Nothing happened to it, don't worry. But it's really hard to kind of keep things in frame when I'm recording when I'm using my paint handle, which sucks because it does make it infinitely easier to hold models and keep everything in place. But unfortunately, it's not great for you guys who are watching, so I've kind of leaned away from it a little bit. I haven't used it in the last few kind of series, and I doubt we'll really make a comeback with it, so rip my old friend. When I'm painting on my own, though, I use that thing all the time. It's my absolute go-to favorite. It really helps steady my nerves and my hands. But we're gonna keep raw dogging it. And I think we are ready for our final layer, and then we will call it. So far, it's been actually a very fun time, minus my paints drying up. It's rather unfortunate. I don't know why. I have tons of paints, and I don't have problems with any of them except for our Abaddon Blacks. But, that's fine. I have another one on the way. Hopefully it won't be too much more of a wait. Again, I think the 15th is when our pre-order is supposed to get here, and that will have everything else with it. And we will swing it around, get the back. Then I think we are officially, quote-unquote, done. Of course, there's always something more I can improve. But I think for a how-to series, just to kind of get you pointed in the right direction, there you go. There is our Space Wolf. I really like that gray. I think the Fang is a great color. I don't know if it's necessarily the exact perfect shade that you want for, box art Space Wolves, but it's pretty close, and I think it looks great. It's a very nice paint to apply. So there you go. I want to thank you guys very much for watching. If you want to support the channel, I have a Patreon. Link is in the description. And of course, as always, like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff really helps me out. I don't know what series we're going to do next. Very soon in the future, I have the Sengonor coming, which I think I've mentioned like 3 times now in the last video and in this one. I also have the Red Gobbo coming. I want to do like a fun little Christmas special with him. Other than that, though, if you guys have any suggestions for like what colors for like chapters you want to see, definitely let me know. I still have a few intercessors left, and I am open to suggestions. Other than that, really all I want to say is thank you guys very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.